Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm talking to you about Cloak and Dagger. We've got a release method for these two characters that, it's more complicated than it needs to be. I think it's going to make it a little challenging for some players, particularly mid-game players who are free to play, to get both characters. And so what we're going to do is talk today about how to get both of these two characters, and if you have to make a choice, who to choose. And before I do that, I want to mention that I'm actually updating this video. I had a different version of this video that was up this morning. And some of you guys actually pointed out in my calculations there was something that was missing that was important. And so I'm redoing this video. So if you already watched the video, I've updated the analysis. And I'm doing that because, look, the reason I do this, I'm sure most of you know, I don't actually make a living as a content creator. I have another job. I'm doing this to try to be helpful to people, and I want to make sure the information is 100% helpful and accurate to everybody. Okay, so let me get right into this and just explain the release method here and why it's important for everyone to keep this in mind. So one thing Scopely's doing here that I don't like is they've purposely made Cloak and Dagger 100 shard unlocks, okay? Which is a hard kind of character to unlock, free to play. And what they're doing is they are making it so that both characters are being released via the Strike Pass. Now, you know there's two paths to the Strike Pass, the free row and then the premium row. If you only do the free row, you're only going to get 50 shards of some currency that's going to give you your choice of either Cloak or Dagger shards. So you're not going to get both. You're going to get one or the other here. So you're going to get, let's say in month one, you're going to get your choice of 50 Cloak or 50 Dagger. Now they're going to run the Strike Pass for a second month. And so from the Strike Pass alone, you'll be able to get either Cloak or either Dagger guaranteed as long as you do your daily objectives and so on, and get the various levels here. So then, and that's why in part I wanted to do this, especially if you're not a blitzer, you're going to have to make a choice between Cloak or Dagger. Another thing though, they are going to have blitzes, 2 blitzes for Cloak or Dagger, and those are also going to reward your choice of Cloak or Dagger. So what is that going to get you? Well, it depends on the size of your roster, right? Okay, that's the issue here. So if you look here, this top is where the blitz rewards used to be. At the bottom is how they recently changed them. It's not much of a change. It's a very minor change. Okay, but it does help some people here at the bottom. But what you notice here is, of course, even though there's 2 blitzes, you're not going to hit 100, right, from these blitzes unless you're very high. Now, what I missed the first time, and the reason I'm doing an updated one, is I did not calculate in that you will get 20-something from each of the blitz milestones. In other words, the milestones for the blitz will contain presumably the same currency that you can use for either Cloak or Dagger shards. So then, if what you're going to do is, let's say you end up with 40-something shards that way, then between the 2 blitzes, you only need to be in this like maybe 11 to 20 or 21 to 30 range to get both characters unlocked. Now, if you're a newer player, you're going to have trouble doing that. My cousin is free to play, and he's level 60-something, and there's no way he's going to hit this, right? He's not going to get, he was able to get all of the Secret Avengers unlocked. There are a lot of free-to-play players in their first month that got the Affinity Watch unlocked. You're not going to necessarily be able to do that for the new Warriors team. So I am going to talk about, if you make the choice, who to choose. But before I do that, I want to talk about how to manage this. What you're going to want to do is, if you are a player who is going to be close, running it closer. In other words, if you're somebody who's getting 2 to 3% of these blitzes, then no, you don't need to worry about it. But if you're more in this range, let's say you're a 21 to 30%er, that's usually how you do, because this is, of course, weighted heavily towards TCP. The bigger your roster is, it helps a lot in blitz, right? Your roster size helps. What you're going to want to do to make up the difference, if you're a little short, you're going to want to watch at the end, and then you're going to want to go to the orbs and you're going to have to core an orb. Okay, these orbs give you an average of, I think, 9.2 shards, something around that range. And, if you calculate it all out and average it all out. And so you're just going to have to spend some cores. Now, I appreciate that for some people, they're like, look, yeah, Philosopher, I don't have 675 cores just sitting around for an orb. And I appreciate that. But this is sort of the situation that Scopely's put people in. And it's kind of a BS release method, in my opinion. But that's the situation that exists. And it's my goal here to help you manage that as best you can. Now, another question, and really two questions here that I want to address is, first of all, which of these two should you choose? And then, but let me say first, should you even care? And I do think you should care about these characters. I know there's some people who are going to say, I'm able to complete the Mystic lane in Doom Raid without these characters. And I will tell you myself, before any of these three characters came to the game, I completed the nodes. I got the Mystic boss down on my lanes without these characters. And when Deathpool came out, and I was just using Deathpool, I cleared them without Cloak and Dagger. But I will say this, adding Cloak alone to my team has made it so much easier to one-shot in difficulty 1, which is a much harder version of the Doom Raid, where you get 75% more damage and more health resistance and all of that. And of course, I'm using big characters, massive team, as everybody knows. And it still was such a humongous difference to go from Ebony Maw to Cloak as my 5th character. And Dagger, I've had a chance to use on the test server, as you saw in the video. And that was very, very significant as well. I mean, those two together are a real pair, kind of like Corvus and Proxima or Hawkeye and Black Widow, where they're characters that they're designed to go together, Cloak and Dagger. So to me, those are characters, even at low stars. Cloak at 4 stars was hanging really well with all these massive characters that I have. And so, I've gotten him up now, obviously, but, I will just say these characters are worth it because, let's face it, the difficulty 1 is just what we're facing today, but I suspect next patch we're going to have Doom Raid 2. And I'm sure even for Doom Raid 1, they're going to have difficulty 2, 3, 4. I mean, why not, right? That's a Scopely way, is constantly ratcheting things up to create new challenges using the content that they've already spent time creating. Another thing that I just want to say is, since the Great Reset, since the massive power creep that we've seen over the last several months, starting with Silver Surfer, all the new characters are way better than everything that came before. And so even in other game modes, I think Cloak and Dagger are going to be awesome. I did test them on the test server in, Dark Dimension. I have tested Cloak a lot in RTA. I'm sure some of you have seen Cloak in RTA and hate all those debuffs that his ultimate puts out and so forth. These are good characters. And so I just think every player should want to unlock these characters and have them. And so I think it's worth trying. But let's just say, that you are a newer player, a mid-game player, a player with a smaller roster, and you're going to be in this range right down here where maybe you're going to get 31 to 45%. Maybe you're not going to get there. Maybe you can't just core up the difference, right? Because especially if you're not doing well in arena, you may not have those cores if you're free to play. Which character should you choose? And here would be my advice on it. And I think this is, it's really dependent on who you are and where you're at. If you are a newer player in the game, I think Dagger is much more of a plug-and-play type character. So if you look at the stats, the character statistics, Dagger has the 9th highest health in the game. She has the 9th highest damage in the game. Okay? Very, very high base stats. And her kit is something that'll help every team because she does things like heal and so forth. That's great, right? You would love to have something that clears positive effects, heals all allies. It heals for a lot more than 5% when you upgrade it. I think, yeah. And so, the clearing positive effects, healing, these are all very good things. It works in every game mode. Whereas Cloak, to me, is a character that requires a little bit more knowledge of the game to use well, and he works better in some game modes than others. So to me, Cloak is the higher ceiling character. If you have to have one or the other, and you're kind of looking more towards an end game perspective, like you have an account that, okay, you're not going to hit wherever you're going to hit to get both of them unlocked, but you're going to be doing Doom raids in the not too distant future, or you're getting ready for DD4. I mean, to me, Cloak for Dark Dimension with this health steal is pretty useful. I haven't tested him, very closely. I mean, certainly not in the city mode nodes, just in the first two, but looked very good to me. And then in raids, he's got some awesome abilities, like when an enemy gets offense down, he reduces speed bar and so forth, and he gives damage to death pool in raids, which every player probably has at least some stars on if you're playing this month, this patch. So to me, he's relying on things like dodge to survive. His base stats aren't as high, but on the right team, I think he's going to really help out. I think he's got the higher ceiling. So I think which of these two characters you choose is dependent on yourself and your roster. Ideally, you get both. I think every player should be trying to get both. And unfortunately, because of this bogus release method that Scopely has, players are going to have to be very careful and watch to make sure that they get enough charge for both. All right, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. If you have comments, leave them below. Thank you for all the helpful comments that led me to update this video. And also, hey, go to my Discord. I always have great conversations there. A lot of helpful people who chip in there. And also check my Twitch stream. That's linked below as well.